The Old Man and the Sea, Part 20. The fish moved steadily and they traveled slowly on the calm water. The other baits were still in the water, but there was nothing to be done. I wish I had the boy, the old man said aloud. I'm being towed by a fish and I am the towing bit. Guys, I confess the first time and the second time I read this book, it was extremely difficult to understand what was going on, you know? And I want to share that experience because it's nice to know that we are dealing with something very, very challenging. I really hope you can, let me see, here, you can see here. So here's the boat. I don't know if it will be good, but here's the boat, you know? At first, I thought the line was made fast here, and the fish was pulling in the other direction, and therefore it would be, you know, against the old man's back. I don't know if you can see that, right? It took me a long time to understand, you know, this exact position I explained in the video, you know. And something that helped me a lot is this word, towing bit. Okay, so towing bit would be something like this, let's imagine, on a boat made of iron. By the way, you have in Quizlet the picture, it's much better, or just Google it, the towing bit, it will help you. So the rope will go around here and it will be made fast around here. So this thing here will be connected to the boat, of course, and the boat will be towed, all right? Why am I telling you this? First, as I said, to share how difficult some parts are, mainly the visual part, and also to encourage you guys, when you're reading a good book, go to the dictionary, look up for every single word, all right? There is a reason why the words are there, all right? Or, you know, of course, sometimes I got it. Sometimes you just want to have fun, but then read a lighter book, you know, a book where those details wouldn't make such a difference, you know, because sometimes it happens a lot with Machado de Assis, you know. He says something and it seems like it's like just like an adjective, you know, it doesn't matter so much, but there's a whole idea there, you know. The only thing is he made it very elegant and very short, you know, very pithy. So if you have an author that is dense, pithy, like Machado de Assis and like Ernest Hemingway, if you lose one word, you run the risk of losing a great idea or a great understanding of the book, right? Now when you're talking about books, you know, like fun books, there are many books that are fun, you know, you can lose entire chunks of the book and the story is still there, right? Because the book focuses much more on the emotion, on the suspense of what is going to happen and things like that. Okay. All right, so going back. I wish I had the boy, the old man said aloud. I'm being towed by a fish and I'm the towing bit. I could make the line fast, meaning connect the line to the side of the boat, right? Why not? But then he could break it. I must hold him all I can and give him line when he must have it. Thank God he's traveling and not going down. Because if you have the line here, you can feel the exact moment the fish is taking too much line and the strain is getting too great. So what can you do? You just give him more line, you know, coming from here and going from there. Because at the same time that you have to tire the fish, so you have to try to hold the fish back, you can't just stop the fish, at least a fish like this, you know. Maybe if you had a huge line, you know, and if you have a motorboat, then there would be nothing the fish could do, but of course it's not the case here. But then he could break it. I must hold him all I can and give him line when he must have it. Thank God he's traveling and not going down. And I will do what I will do if he decides to go down, I don't know. What I'll do if he sounds and dies, I don't know. but I'll do something. There are plenty of things I can do, okay? Because if he goes down, you know, I think it's easier for the rope to break, all right? And he'll take more rope. And of course, the old man wouldn't be able to be towed. You know, the boat wouldn't move, because the only direction the boat could move in that situation would be downwards, right? And we call it sinking. We don't want that, right? So I guess the old man would have to give more and more and more and more line, and then he would run the risk of running out of line. You know, so imagine the fish went very, 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 very deep. You know, and then there would be a moment. One of the three things would happen. The fish would be stopped by the weight of the boat here and by the line. The line would break, or the boat would be towed into the water and would sink. I think, of course, the line would break in that situation. People, sound is something very interesting. Look, don't give up when you look up for a word and you don't find, you know, you don't find the meaning that explains what is going on. You know, I took notes here. The meaning of sound, if I'm not wrong, it was like the fourth definition you would have in dictionary. Because, you know, first of all, you could just think, oh well, sound it can be a noun, but here sound is a verb. So the fish sounds, it doesn't make any sense, right? And then you would try to get the next meaning for sound, that is like steadfast, right? Like safe and sound. But then it wouldn't work as well. So if you enter the dictionary, you would have to go to the fourth entry. It's not even the meaning, fourth entry. And sounds in that entry is when a fish dives downwards, you know, and very fast. Let me read the definition for you. To dive swiftly downward, you know, and we're talking about specifically about marine mammals and fish, you know. So don't give up, you know. Well, sounds is not what I expect, so I'll try another definition, and then another one, and then, well, another clue you can get. But is there any definition specific for nautical area, for ships and boats and etc.? And as it turns out, a good dictionary will present that to you. Let me open it just to show you what the process is like sometimes, you know. So I find a sound here. I'm using the free dictionary as usual. There is sound number one, first entry, not even definitions inside the entry. Sound number one, we're talking about the sound you hear. And then you have sound number two, that is like in good conditions, right? A sound argument, for example. And then you have a sound number three, that is a long, wide ocean inlet, very specific. And then you have to go to sound number four, and it will give you what we want. Number one is to measure the depth of water, especially by means of weighted line. You know, you put a weight in the line and you let the line go, down, right? By the way, this word, by a coincidence, sounds sound, but the word sound comes from one place. This sound we are talking about comes from the same place that gave us the word sondar, you know? So think about it. If you can sound the depth of the ocean by letting the line down, when the fish does the same thing, then you have sound, okay? But I want you to realize how much work I had to have in order to discover that, right? So what I will do if he sounds and dies, I don't know, but I'll do something. There are plenty of things I can do. He held the line against his back and watched it slant in the water, and the skiff moving steadily to the northwest. This will kill him, the old man thought. He can't do this forever. But 4 hours later, the fish was still swimming steadily out to the sea, towing the skiff. and the old man was still braced solidly with the line across his back. Uh, it was noon when I hooked him, he said, and I have never seen him. He had pushed his straw hat hard down on his head before he hooked the fish, and it was cutting his forehead. Because remember, he can't use his hands, because he has to hold the line here, and he has to hold the line here, and there's all the pressure. Oh no, sorry, he cannot even hold the line. The line is on his back, and he's bracing himself, his body, against the boat, so he won't fall downwards. So he can't even, take the hat that is, pressing against his forehead. He had pushed his straw hat hard down on his head before he hooked the fish, and it was cutting his forehead. He was thirsty too, and he got down on his knees, and being careful not to jerk the line, moved as far into the bow, the front of the boat, to the bow as he could get, and reach the water bottle with one hand. He opened it and drank it a little. So remember, he's taking all the strain now with just one hand. Then he rested against the bow. He rested sitting on the unstepped mast and sail, and tried not to think, but only endure. Unstepped, when you step a mast, you put the mast on the step, on the position, right? So unstepped mast is the mast on the floor of the boat. People, take a look at how nice is his way of enduring, right? He tried not to think, but only endure, It's like when you're doing exercise and you have 3 more push-ups to do, and then you stop thinking, because thinking there will just, damage your determination. So you just have to endure one more and one more. Then he looked behind him and saw that no land was visible. That makes no difference, he thought. I can always come in on the glow, on the shine, right, on the light from Havana. There are 2 more hours before the sun sets, and maybe he will come up before that. If he doesn't, maybe he will come up with the moon. If he does not do that, maybe he will come up with the sunrise. I have no cramps, and I feel strong. It is he that has the hook in his mouth. But what a fish to pull like that. He must have his mouth shut tight on the wire, because remember, guys, you have the line, but close to the line you have the lead. Remember that expression, you have the hook, the lead that is made of wire usually, so that if the fish tries to get itself free hitting the line, it won't be able to. I wish I could see him. I wish I could see him only once to know what I have against me. The fish never changed his course, nor his direction all that night, as far as the man could tell from watching the stars. It was cold after the sun went down, and the old man's sweat dried cold on his back, and his arms and his old legs. During the day he had taken the sack, that is a kind of bag, right, that covered the bait box, and spread it in the sun to dry. After the sun went down, he tied it around his neck so that it hung down over his back, and he cautiously worked it down under the line that was across his shoulders now. Okay, so he has the sack here, he tied the sack here, and then the sack is hanging behind him. So what does he have to do? He has to get that line that is against his back and put it on the sack, so it will cushion, the pressure there. Okay, it's exactly what the book is going to say. The sack cushioned the line, and he had found a way of leaning. I'm just taking a look if I haven't passed. Okay. He had found a way of leaning forward against the bow so that he was almost comfortable. The position actually was only somewhat less intolerable, but he thought of it as almost comfortable. That idea of a half empty, half full glass, right? He said it half full. He saw it half full. I can do nothing with him and he can do nothing with me, he thought. Not as long as he keeps this up. He continues like this. Once he stood up and urinated over the side of the skiff and looked at the stars and checked his course. The line showed like phosphorescent streak in the water straight out from his shoulders. They were moving more slowly now, and the glow of Havana was not so strong, so that he knew the current must be carrying them to the eastward. If I lose the glare of Havana, the glow, right, we must be going more to the eastward, he thought. For if the fish's course held true, meaning continued this way, I must see it for many more hours. So if the fish is going the same direction, I'll see the glow of Havana back there many more hours. I wonder how the baseball came out in the Grand Leagues today, he thought. It would be wonderful to do this with a radio. Then he thought, think of it always. Think of what you are doing. You must do nothing stupid. So like concentrate. No one should be alone in their old age, he thought. But it is unavoidable. I must remember to eat the tuna before he spoils in order to keep strong. Remember, no matter how little you want to, that you must eat in the morning. Remember, he said to himself.